Timmy gonna die?
No, sweetheart. He's just very sick.
Number 10. The chocolate river wasn't chocolate. Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory.
That's chocolate. A chocolate river.
That's the most fantastic thing I've ever seen.
For every kid that watched Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory back in 1971, the dream of swimming in a chocolate river immediately made it onto their Charlie bucket lists. And while swimming in a real river of chocolate might be awesome, swimming in the chocolate river from the movie most definitely was not. And another thing it wasn't was chocolate. According to Augustus Gloop actor Michael Bullner, not only was it not chocolate, but it was also, quote, cold and, quote, stinky.
Was the river really chocolatey?
No, I'm sorry, it was water. It was water.
It was disgusting.
Julie Dawn Cole, who played Veruca Salt, added that people on set were also, quote, emptying their coffee cup dregs into it. Definitely not the sweet swimming we all pictured.
It looks like he's drowning.
Dive in, save him!
Oh, it's too late.
Too late!
Number 9. Sex Dust, The Lion King.
Was it something I said?
It's a pretty innocuous scene. Simba flops down on the edge of a cliff, sending a cloud of dust into the night sky. Of all the moments from The Lion King, it's probably one of the scenes you've thought about the least since your childhood viewings of the movie. Until now, that is. Because if you look closely at that aforementioned cloud of dust, you'll see that it spells out the word sex.
Hey, Pumbaa, not in front of the kids.
Oh, sorry.
Animator Tom Cito has stated that the dust spells out SFX, as a shout out to the special effects department. But if that's true, they should have paid a little more attention to the bottom of the F because, as far as we're concerned, that's an E. Number 8. Margaret Hamilton's Injury, The Wizard of Oz. Remember the scene in The Wizard of Oz where the Wicked Witch of the West exits Munchkin Land after learning of her sister's death?
I'll get you, my pretty, and your little dog, too. Ah!
After threatening Dorothy and her dog, she disappears in a cloud of red smoke and fiery flames. Pretty cool, right? Well, not for actress Margaret Hamilton, who received third-degree burns when the flames were set off too soon and the green copper-based paint on her hands and face caught fire.
And of course, what had happened was that my broom and the hat had caught fire, and the firemen were putting it out.
The injuries were enough to keep her off the set for 3 months before returning to work. As if the toxic paint she wore throughout filming wasn't bad enough.
Look what you've done! I'm melting! Melting!
Number 7. It was a real adult entertainment hotline, the Santa Claus.
It's done.
There are a lot of jokes in the Santa Claus movie, but only one cost a family $400. There's a scene in the film where Scott's ex-wife gives him a card with the number where she and her new husband will be, in case he has to reach her. Scott makes a joke that the number on the card is 1-800-SPANK-ME.
Neil's mom's number in case.
1-800-SPANK-ME? I know that number.
You know the expression, it's funny because it's true? Well, that was the case here because there was actually a working phone sex line with that number in operation at that time. Which one family found out the expensive way when their kid called the number and racked up a $400 phone bill.
In your dreams, Playboy.
Number 6. Pinocchio is more violent than you remember. Pinocchio.
Looks pretty hopeless. It'll take a miracle to get us out of here.
Gee.
As it turns out, Pinocchio wasn't all expanding noses, cute crickets, and the sweet and comforting melodies of When You Wish Upon a Star. Pinocchio was actually a pretty violent film, with some scenes more disturbing than one might expect for a Disney movie, especially one from 1940. Honest John would happily kill someone for money. The Rough House on Pleasure Island is basically a fight club, and once turned into donkeys, the boys suffer abuse and imprisonment.
Please, please, I don't want to be a donkey. Let me out of here.
Looking at the numbers, the film features 43 moments of violence, 3 against animals, and there are even 2 shots portraying male nudity. Number 5. Disney's mother issues. Various movies. We all cried when Bambi's mother died and hated how mean Cinderella's stepmother was to her.
Good night.
But as kids, we probably weren't looking at all our favorite Disney movies and noticing how absent mothers were, and still are in many of the films. One theory as to why this was the case dates back to the tragic 1938 death of Walt Disney's mother from a gas leak in the house that he had bought for her.
Walt and Roy moved Elias and Flora to Los Angeles. And as a 50th wedding anniversary present, the brothers bought them a house.
However, while this definitely sounds like valid trope-inducing trauma, not everyone's buying it. There are those that will point to the source material for the films and the fact that the mother characters were already absent prior to Walt getting his hands on them.
Oh, yes! Pinocchio, my boy! I'm so happy to see you!
Me too, Father!
Number 4. NIMH was a real place. The Secret of NIMH. The Secret of NIMH was definitely one of the darker and more mature animated films of the 80s.
Is Timmy gonna die?
No, sweetheart. He's just very sick.
What's the matter with him, Mother?
Mr. H has called it pneumonia.
Pneumonia?
There were no doubt many of us who saw the caged animals of NIMH in our dreams for weeks after watching the movie. And while we might have tried to find comfort in telling ourselves it was just a movie, the truth is, it wasn't.
You're in great danger. NIMH is coming.
The movie is based on the 1971 novel, Mrs. Frisby and the Rats of NIMH, and according to its author, Robert C. O'Brien, NIMH was a real place. O'Brien's story was inspired by the National Institute of Mental Health, NIMH, and some of the experiments that were being done on rodents at the time.
They were put through the most unspeakable tortures to satisfy some scientific curiosity.
Number 3. The Bambi Complex. Bambi. For many kids, the murder of Bambi's mother is one of the first instances when they have to deal with the idea and concept of death. It can be very emotional, even for adults watching the film. But for kids who haven't experienced those feelings before, it can have a lasting impact on them.
Your mother can't be with you anymore.
In fact, the movie and the mother's death are such an ingrained part of our popular culture that people with great sympathy towards wild animals and strong anti-hunting beliefs are often said to have a Bambi complex.
Why did we all run?
Man was in the forest.
Which honestly doesn't sound like such a bad thing, does it? Number 2. WALL-E's Chernobyl inspiration. WALL-E.
Operation Cleanup has, failed. Wouldn't you know, rising toxicity levels have made life unsustainable on Earth.
Unsustainable?
As WALL-E begins, we're introduced to a desolate world of destruction. A world that has become overrun with garbage. So much so that humanity had to be evacuated onto ships in order for life to continue.
Too much garbage in your face? There's plenty of space out in space. B&L Starliners leaving each day. We'll clean up the mess while you're away.
While the film takes place generations in the future, what you might not have realized is that the film took visual inspiration for this future Earth from the present-day planet. Pixar animators studied the city of Chernobyl in Ukraine, which in 1986 had to be evacuated after suffering the worst nuclear power plant disaster in history. A city that even decades later is still almost completely deserted. Number 1. An American Tail was about anti-Semitism. An American Tail.
Mama, look!
Most children will probably be more focused on cute Fievel and his journey to America and not pick up on the dark societal injustices that make up said journey. But looking at the film with adult eyes, the anti-Semitic struggles are pretty front and center.
And even though I know how very far apart we are, it helps to think we might be wishing on the same bright star.
The movie starts with the Russian Jewish Moskowitz family and their mouse counterparts, the Mouskowitzes, having their Hanukkah celebrations broken up by anti-Jewish Cossacks and their cats. The mice escape and make their way across the ocean, but it turns out America isn't the cat-free utopia they had heard it was.
Papa told me everyone knows it. There are no cats.
The movie might be, as Roger Ebert called it, quote, gloomy and, quote, depressing, but so is anti-Semitism. Did you enjoy this video? Check out these other clips from WatchMojo, and be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.